I can't change it all. It has to be changed with the registrar's office.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll look for that.
Yes. So, and then just as a reminder, the courses will open 1 week before the start date of record, and they will close 2 weeks after the end date. So you don't have to open and hide your courses at all. That will happen automatically with the system. Are you guys all seeing my Brightspace screen?
Can I ask you a question about that, Kat?
Yes.
It's Mona. Will you be sending out instructions on how to import like this semester's class into next semester's?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, we will take care of that. Let me make a note just to make sure that I don't forget it. But yes, at some point, I promise there will be one, and hopefully sooner. All righty. Let's see. All right. So we're going to go into content first. So after you access any of your courses, all right, and then we can click on our content page. And the content page is where you are going to go to add links, documents, create these cool pages, etc. So as a reminder, this table of content page is kind of equivalent to the Moodle page, where you can see everything for your course all on one page. You do have these handy buttons here, expand all and collapse all. So if you just wanted to see them all like this and expand one at a time, you can. If you like to see them all open, you can do that also. But yeah. So if you have them all expanded, you'll notice you'll have these blue and gray buttons here. If you would also like to just look at 1 week at a time, you can click on the week and you get extra items for that week at the top here. So for a module that you have, for the module, you can set dates and restrictions for the module. Remember, start dates and end dates are visibility. So if you set a start date, it's not going to be visible to that date. And if you set an end date, it won't be visible after that date. So you can add a due date that will show up in the course calendar automatically for students and say everything from this module is due by this date. So those are helpful. Release conditions are, you know, if you are getting fancy and you want them to like have done something else before they can access this module. That's what those are for. Like if you have a need for that, you can let me know individually. I use it in my course because I do an academic honesty pledge. And so they can't access anything else in my course until they've completed the academic honesty pledge, since it's an online course. And at some point a long time ago, I found one article that I have not been able to find again that says that that helps deter instances of this academic dishonesty, even just by having a little statement where they say, I agree to do my best. But you can also add a description. So if they click on it and you wanted to have like an overview of kind of what's in this module, you could do that. It's all up to your preference. But you can put those by the module as well. So a module description. When you are on the module here, you'll see there's also a way that you can make your module completely invisible. So everything inside it is hidden, or you can leave it visible. You'll notice over here on the side column, you'll have an easy way to tell which ones you have made invisible or not at a quick glance. Any questions so far? All right. Next up, we can get down here to these fancy buttons. Here, well, I guess before we do the fancy buttons, you do have the option to do sub-modules. So it's basically, you know, if you think about the folders on your desktop and you think of each module as a folder, right? So the table of contents is kind of like your desktop and it lists everything. You can also click on a folder and have another folder inside. So that's what a submodule is. So if you are in a module and then like this area right here, this is a submodule within it. So if you had a couple items to group together, that's what you can use a submodule for. And you'll see just down here at the bottom, it says add a submodule. So you just click on it. And you could type it and hit enter, just like how you add the module names over here on the side. So down at the bottom here, this is my test course, so I just import a lot of nothing. But so down at the bottom, it says add a module. You type your module name and hit enter. Same type of creation process. Any questions on that? All right. So next up, if we get to the upload create button, this is like the add an activity or resource button in Moodle. So that's what you are going to use to create all of the things. So all of the things are in here, and up at the top are more of your content items. So files, video, audio, create a file, create a link. And then down below are all of the interactive elements, assignment, checklist, discussion, quiz, survey. And those are the items that we are going to talk about next week. This week, we're focusing on these top ones. All right. So the first one, we'll just go over it, is upload files. So there's a couple different ways to upload files. If you just had like a PDF that you wanted them to see, you can click on it. You can click on my computer, you can click upload, and you can say, here is the file that I want. It uploads it, you can see it. You don't have to worry about this destination folder at this point. And you can click add, and then you'll see it's listed here, and it says what type of item it is. It's a PDF document. There is also like click and drag functionality. So if you just had your file open and you wanted to click and drag it, and you know how to do that, you are welcome to do that also. When you add things to your course, you'll notice that they'll all come up with this check mark. Part of the reason that it is because completion status is automatically set to be automatic. And by having these check marks, that's what affects the circles in progress on the home page or when students are looking at a module. So if I were to view this as a student, and I were to look at that module ZZ, right, it says 0 of 1 topics complete, and it has the percentage. That's based automatically by this topic and having that check mark. So if I click on it and open it, right, you can see things. I should probably send this to you. It's a really great guide that Brightspace has made. So it kind of tells you like, if this is what you're looking to do, here's the Brightspace tools to help you and links to resources.
Oh, so definitely send that to me, Kat. I could use it.
I will send it. We can see here, also you may not have noticed there's this little arrow here. So this is like kind of a side panel that would pull out. So I can jump back to the table of contents from here. You don't have to click on content. Lots of different things there. Let me jump back down to my fancy module, wherever I lost it. Here it is. Since it only had the one item in there, and I looked at that one item, you'll now see it's checked off. So I can, as a student, I can see, oh, I looked at everything in this module, or I'm done everything in this module. If I were to click on it and we go back to it, you can now see I have the check mark instead of a dot, and it says I did everything that I'm supposed to in this module. If I go back to our regular view here, that's the worst thing I'll say about changing views. It always takes you back to the home page. You'll notice when you go to content, every time it'll default you to the last module you were on though. So since I was on module ZZ last time, now when I clicked on it, it took me back to it. So you don't have to remember where you were, which is nice. Next up, if we do upload create again, it's just video or audio. So this would just be if you have URL or embed code. So like if you had a YouTube video, you could enter that here, or if you had the embed code for the video. You can also upload your files automatically. And for anyone with like a heavy video audio content, they did just up their upload file, their max file size to 2 gigs from 1 gig. So I feel like that might be helpful for you, Ernie. I'm just guessing that you have large files.
Yeah, we're allowed to use YouTube videos? And I know with Moodle, I had a hard time using YouTube videos. It wouldn't allow it.
Here, it should. I'm pretty sure I have that turned on. We'll just go find one quick, and I'll throw it in there. Great. So here's just a YouTube video. I've been listening to country in my office on the YouTube, so that's the first one that popped up. But you can see you can even adjust the title. So if you wanted to give them some more direction or say like pay attention to minute 5 or whichever you wanted, hit save. You'll see anytime you add something, it'll take you to it most of the time. But up here you do have the breadcrumb trail. So I could click Modules ZZ right here to go back, or I can use my sidebar, look at different modules. So Modules Z, from short to Z, we can go back. And you'll see now it has a different icon that it is a video. Just random best practice since we're here is that if I do give students a video, you know, I'll delete all this extra nonsense. I'll generally put in the title how long the video is, so that way they know before they started. They could be like, oh, I do have time to watch that right now. I don't have time to watch that right now. Type item. Next step is create a file, or we'll do create a link next, because that's the next easy one. So create a link is just your typical URL link, right? So we're the home page. You can put it in. There's 2 options here. All right. This one, open as external resource, is usually checked. That means it opens it up in a new tab. All right. Personally, I prefer to uncheck it, although you do get this warning. And that's because some things don't like to open up nicely. Basically, by unchecking this box, it makes the link open up inside of Brightspace. So if you're going to do this, you have to check it. So I'm going to say, yes, I want to make this change, create, and then the page loads here inside of Brightspace. Now, there are some websites that it does not load nicely, or some resources. So you have to double check yourself if you want this to happen. I like it because it's one less tab for them. Content tracking is nice here because then I can see that they were on this page for however long. So I think it's worth it to check, but that is obviously your own preference, and it may not be worth it if you're like, oh, this is just an extra thing. I don't care if they look at it or not, or a bunch of supplemental resources. It is cool to have this with Google Docs, if you're doing shared Google Docs, because then you can, students can collaborate on the Google Doc right here in the LMS without actually leaving. So,
Kat, is there really any difference between the previous one about posting a video or audio link versus this link? I mean, it seems like they're both links other than showing on your screen that it's a video or perhaps an audio icon.
Not really, unless you're using like the embed code. So like for YouTube specifically, you may not copy the link. You may just have embed code, because the embed code will let you say like start at minute 5. So like if you have a video and you're like, I want them to watch, you know, like the last 3 minutes of this, you can set the start time. So if you're using embed code, it'll also most likely open up nicer every time. Whereas if you use the link, you're going to have to do this external check that we just did if you want it to show nicely in the system.
Okay.
Guys, I'm popular right now. I just got 2 phone calls and a person walked past. Never happened. At least not all at once. All right, any questions on that? Here, I will show. Okay, so I'm going to change this real quick to a Google Doc. Right. Sign in quick. Oh, I signed into the wrong account, but usually I used it actually in my class. Show you. So once again, everything that you're putting on that content page will show up down here in the content at a glance. So students can generally get to it from here. These folder icons, this is what a submodule looks like. So you see how it's a folder with another circle here. That's how it's a submodule. So here's a link to a Google Doc that I just opened up the share access to. As long as anyone had the link, they can edit it. So students had to come in and put their name and they could enter a song. So, and you can edit it right from here in Brightspace. So they have less tabs to open, and it's helpful like if they're on a phone, which most of them tend to be these days. So they can do it all right in here. But any questions on the link? All right. So next up, we have create a file. So a file is a way for you to organize information. Like if you don't want to have like a video and a link and everything separate, you can have them all on this one file page and organize it with headings and cool templates and such. All right, so I'm just going to type this as a file page. But then right over here to the right, you should see the select a document template button. So if you remember back in February, we did send out a template for Black History Month. So that's in here that we used. And there was also one for Moodle that Sue Jenkins made both of them, and we put them in so you could easily use them. But there's also all these other ones that you can use. So this is just an intro page, and it fills information in. If you wanted to share even more about yourself, there's a spot to add a picture. It has all these little icons. You can fill things in, more about you, office hours, all these nice templates for whatever you think you would like, weekly activities. So these are all here for you to use to create content. The trick is you have to pick one first if you're going to use any of them. Because if you pick one of there, here, a video lecture. So after you pick one, if you were to type in it, it will overwrite whatever's there. So, right, like if this is my title and I said, here's my video title, and I'm like, oh, I decided I don't want to use this template. I want to use this template. It'll delete anything that was there. So you have to do the items, like you have to be sure which template you want. Or you can just type here directly. You don't have to use a template. One of my favorite templates is down here at the bottom, and it's accordions. I think I have to update it because the font looks weird. But so basically you pick a thing and it'll kind of tell you where to type. So like it says accordion 1 of 2, insert accordion 1 of 2 content here. Or tab. I know why, but Sorry, sometimes things are in my head. But anyone who's looked in the Brightspace course so far, I used these templates to create that information. So you don't have to know fancy coding to get tabs or accordions or make it interactive or to chunk content. There we go. Sorry, this was a bad example page. Let's go down here. All right, so this page, right, it has these fancy things that open. These are accordions. I didn't have to code any of this information or anything special. If I edit it for you, so you can kind of see what it looks like on the back end. All I did was pick the accordion template, and up here it said, you know, accordion 1 of 4. And then it said enter the stuff for accordion 1 of 4. And then down below that here it said, you know, accordion 2 of 4. I cannot spell accordion. So the templates are a great way to make your content look nicer and more engaging. And the accordions and tabs, while they're fun to play with, they actually help chunk content, which if you are sharing information online, right, is a good way to kind of keep it minimized for students so they can focus on one part at a time. Fun note while we're here is that you'll see a checkbox here that says notify students that the content has changed. So if you have a piece of content already made in the course and you're like, oh, I forgot I wanted to add this, or you have a major change to make it, like I could check this now, and if I hit save and close, everyone who's enrolled, all 471 some faculty, will get a notification that says I updated this piece of content. So in terms of managing your course or sharing information, that's helpful for you to do that. Instead, I'm going to hit cancel because I don't think anybody needs extra notifications for nonsense. Any questions so far? Yes, Gail.
Unmuted. So the accordion is like a sub-file system.
Yes.
I lost where I am in terms of where are we, where did we get here? What's the step before?
Yeah. So the step before is if you're in your course,
Creating a file.
right?
Yes.
So we're in our course. We click content.
Yes.
And then wherever you want to be, you choose
Upgrade.
upload,
Okay.
create,
Okay. And then it was
create a file.
Okay.
And then once you're in the file page, they are document templates.
Okay, they're the templates. Okay.
Yes. So they are all here. There's a bunch of sometimes, like the one example here, I mean, it gets fancy. I have documents and tabs. So like I tend to have like 2 things open, and one of them is like just a junk page, and then I like copy and paste things. There's not a super easy way, but it's possible. Or you could make separate pages for them if you want to have tabs and then accordions. But these are a great way to organize content. Like if you had a video and a link, because you could kind of like explain your link a little and say, watch this video down below, and it helps the course look clean because you don't have 10 links for the one subject.
Okay. All right. I have a question. In a way you did that when you were wanting us to discuss. We had discussion topic, then we had announcements, or add an announcement, or start a thread. So it's subsets basically.
Yes.
Okay. I had another question, and well, it's not exactly related here, but it might be. Early on, I think last week, you talked about notifications. there's a place to check all kinds of notifications. And I came here today thinking I'm going to ask, what's the best thing to tell students to do? Should the students check all, was my question. And then I started thinking about the times I get notifications that I'm not sure I want. And then I thought maybe I better think about that a little bit. Do you have any suggestions about that?
I would tell them to definitely check off announcements. And then it depends on how you build your course. If you're the person that uses the LMS to kind of support your in-person course and still puts due dates in the system, that's helpful for students because they can check off the notification that says, let me know if there's an assignment due in 2 days. Let me know that there's a quiz due in 2 days. So it'll really depend on your course design, which ones you think would be best for yours. But I would definitely say announcements across the board for everybody, for every class.
Okay, that's a help. I've sometimes had a mistake in the Moodle where I had a date from another semester. So now the students are panicking because this was due August 2019 and they don't have it done and it tells them they're late. And okay, this is a help. Thank you.
And eventually we'll get into the fact that when you copy from semester to semester, there's a bulk date offset. So you can say, like, if this was my first due date in fall 2020, this is what my first due date for spring 2021 should be, and it will adjust all of the dates.
Good.
So hopefully you don't miss dates, because I have also missed many a date.
Thank you.
So if you don't want to use any, if the templates aren't for you, if you're like, those are a little too much, you can still use the pages to create whatever kind of content you like. Remember, anytime you have a box with like these little arrows, that typically means you can drag and make the box bigger if you need to. There's also an option here where you can pop the box out and make it full screen so you can see everything. You'll notice the button is still down here in the corner, and you can see that it's kind of like depressed or highlighted, so you can click it to go either way. I'm going to leave it on the big screen for now, so that way we can kind of see all of the buttons up here. But the first button, if I hold my mouse over it, you'll see it's called the Insert Stuff button, which is a name after my own heart. I feel like that's how I would describe it. But if we click on it, we then get a list of all the things that you can insert. So you can insert things from your computer. Course offering files are anytime you upload a file to the course, a copy of it is saved in your course offering files. So like from semester to semester, you don't necessarily have to save items because they'll just get saved here in your course offering files. There's also shared files. So these are ones from like the site as a whole. At this point, most of the time we don't need to be in here. I mean, eventually I think it might be helpful to put all of our common syllabus elements, like about accommodations and certain policies and stuff, to just have one document that I update, and you could just click shared and say, put this in my course. So the syllabus could have more of what like your course specific items are, and not 10 pages of other things. That may just be me though. But so those are there. Like I said, not too much now. There's also learning repository. This is something that we also would like to build up. So the learning repository, Amanda Avery has talked about it a little bit. This is shared resources by you guys. At this point, not everybody has the option to search in it yet or different things. But eventually the plan would be to set some repositories up by your department or by major, so that way you could share materials across courses without having to add someone to your course as an editing teacher. So you're like, all right, this is going to be the Philosophy 113 final exam because we want to make sure everybody comes out of that knowing this. You could do that. Or maybe you have like some shared videos or things that people like to use across a department. It would be good for that, or the option to use it would be there. So we have to work on that, but it is here. Next up is add video note. So right now in Moodle, you can add a video note up to 3 minutes. One of the nice things here is that there's also video note search. So you can use your video notes across multiple courses. You don't have to re-record it if you're teaching multiples of the same section. But when you click add video note, it comes up record your webcam. You can also upload a video file if you have a video file that you made elsewhere that you want to use. You'll see here we have 30 minutes, new recording. You can see a countdown. You can see yourself preview. Yay. Let's not listen to that. But you'll see after it's here, you could play it. You can see how long it is. When you click next, it'll give you the option to title it. So this is what it searches by. So like if this is your, this is my math 155 chapter 1 intro, I can have it and save it here and it's searchable by that title. I also recommend putting the language and checking automatically generate captions. It takes a second to process, just like Moodles did or some of the things. You can hit refresh preview if you want to get it at some point. I usually don't wait for it. I just hit insert. See, there it is. But that's a video note. Just to show you what the search looks like. So I did like video responses to my students on different things. So I tried to tag them some way that I'd be able to search them if needed for, like, if you guys need it for one of your like promotion applications to demonstrate how you do things, or a FAR, I don't know exactly, but having them with a helpful name works. The other types of things that you can insert, you'll see here, we have YouTube, so you can actually search YouTube from here and insert the video. Pick it, click your blue next button. Shows you a preview it if you want to watch it and make sure it's the right video for you. Hit next. And it just, you can add them all in. There's also a Flickr search if you wanted a video, and then links and embed codes. So once again, those can be similar, and it's just up to you how you want to share them. You could use the link or embed code for a YouTube video if you don't want to use the YouTube button. So it'll really be your preference there. Any questions on the insert stuff button? All right. Next up is, it's more towards camera and or images and video with the little camera icon, but you can do that in most of the other ways too. So it'll really be whatever works for you. If you have like a picture on your computer, or if you have a link to a picture, whichever way you want to go. And then over here is my second favorite button, the Quicklink button. So you can use the Quicklink button to do a regular URL, just like on the insert stuff button. You can also provide links to anything in your course. And they are interactive links, and they'll automatically update from semester to semester, so you don't have to change them. It just does it. So you can say, here's a link. I don't think I have any checklists in this stuff. Oh, I do. So here's the checklist. So you create it and it puts it in as a link in that text. So like if you were using the file page to kind of give an overview of what's coming up for the week, you could actually link all of their assignments for the week using the quick link button. So, and you can link to anything in your course. You can link to discussions. Next up, we're going to talk about the, what are we up to? Groups. So there's actually self-enrollment groups here. So like if you wanted students to enroll in their own group or like choose groups, you would just choose self-enrollment for groups, and the group that you had picked would be listed here, and you'd click on it and it would add a link, and you would say like, you know, choose your group here, and then you put the quick link in and they could click on it and pick what kind of group. The rest of these, I mean, if you want to insert a line, emoticons, most of the rest of this is pretty explanatory then and similar to Word. So you have font, size, you know, your indents, bullets, You can click the down arrows if you're looking for something similar, but it's missing. So the bulleted list, subscript, superscript, different items. There's also an equation editor here for anyone who needs it. Different colors. One of the nice things when you're choosing colors is if you wanted to do different colors here, like you can see the foreground colors, it'll tell you if your ratio meets accessibility standards. So like if we did a really light version of this purple, you can see now that the contrast isn't great enough, so somebody who has vision issues might not be able to read your text. Any questions so far? All right. And then down over here in the bottom right, you do have the spell check. So you can check for spell check. And then the one with the little I is an accessibility checker. So it'll come up and tell you accessibility issues detected. Like here, if I were to highlight this and let's say, here, I'm gonna make it super light so it fails. All right, so we can see down here that it fails. If you didn't notice that and you still chose the accessibility checker, it would highlight it for you and tell you that you missed that. So that's a good tool to have. And it'll give you a list of all the things that are not accessible on your page. But that is it for the file page. Once again, so I'll make it small. You have to have a title. You could have chosen a document template. And then when you're done, you hit save and close. Any questions? All righty. So
Just to double check. So
Yeah.
I can write on this page myself. I can say, this is the video that I told you, and I have a link to the syllabus, which you should have read before, but this is, you might want to check this. So I can not refresh, make a link to something from before, and I can type myself just a little direction. So, I mean, one of the difficulties with Moodle is if you had a file and you wanted to edit it, you had to go out, get the file, edit the file, then put it back. This sort of eliminates some of that.
yes, I mean, depending on your course design, because if you did like a PDF or a Word document, you still have to edit that original file and re-upload it. But if you're using the create a file page to kind of relay some of that information that you would have done in a Word doc or PDF, then yes, because you'll be able to edit it right down here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing on our agenda today is groups. And you're able to access the groups from the tools menu. So in your green nav bar, you can click tools. And if we scroll down, we have groups. All right. Now, if you used Moodle groups, this category is the same as a Moodle grouping. So it's basically how what are you using the groups for? So if you hit new category, you can say the category name, what are these groups for? I tend to use mine for discussion groups. If I have a class of 20, I'm going to put them into 2 groups. You can put a description here, and then down below, you'll see we have all of these different enrollment types. So number of groups, no auto enrollments, is where you say, I have my list of students and I want to put these, I know exactly what I want the groups to be. You're going to choose the no auto enrollments option. These next 2 items, groups of numbers or number of groups, are auto enrollments. So groups of numbers, you can say, I want groups of 4, auto enroll. It doesn't say auto enroll, that's just assumed there, but you do that and it'll automatically put them in the groups. Number of groups, you say, I want 5 groups, automatically disperses your kids into 5 groups. And then we have these next 3 options are all self-enrollments, right? So this is where the student will choose their groups. So you could do it by groups of numbers, number of groups, and then you could do number of groups with capacity. So I tend to use that one because I'll say, like, for my final project, you can work with a partner or by yourself. So I make enough groups for everyone in the class if they wanted to work by themselves, and then I set a capacity of 2. So that way they can't have more than just their partner. Or maybe you say, you know, I want 5 groups, but I want it to be evenly dispersed. So each group can only have 3. So whatever your needs are. If you do choose a self-enrollment option, so groups of 4. Next up is the group prefix, right? So you could say discussion group, and then it'll just put a number after it. So when the groups are made, it'll say discussion group 1, discussion group 2, discussion group 3, etc. Then down here, you'll notice that there's enrollment dates. So you can say you have to self-enroll by this date, and if you don't, then it's going to automatically put you in a group. So you can do those options. If we had chose something like this one, you'll see we don't have the dates down here because it's not self-enrollment. We have different advanced options. If you're setting up groups, like now before the drop ad week, this button is nice because it'll auto-enroll new users. So if a student adds your course, it'll automatically put them in a group. But those change per item. Any questions on the groups that we've talked about so far? All right, the last group type here is a single user group. So if you have a reason, such as journaling, that you want students to have like their own private discussion area to write where only you and the student can see it, you'll click this single user member specific groups. The benefit to setting your groups up early in Brightspace is that if we scroll down here, you can see that it has set up discussion area and set up assignments. So you can make your group first and then say this group is going to have discussions tied to it, and this group is going to have an assignment tied to it. And it will automatically take you through the steps to make those items as you complete your group. Versus Moodle, you would probably like make your assignments or make your group and then you manually say, I want this group to go with this assignment. I want this group to go with this discussion. So if you know those in advance, it will walk you through the process to do it all here. If you check both of them off, I'll leave you here. And we're going to talk more about these different settings and things next week. But just so you can see the process here, when you click save, it'll take you to the things that you've checked off. So I've checked off discussions. So it gives me options about the discussion I want to set up with them. It says here, create one topic per group or create one topic with threads separated by group. If you use groups in Moodle, this is usually what happens because then you would have like a drop down to choose the groups versus seeing every group's individual thread. This is the one I tend to recommend because it keeps the discussion looking cleaner, at least the board. It's just my personal preference though. But when you're done and you see you have create and next or add another. So maybe you have multiple discussions for this group, or maybe it's a project and you have 3 check-in points for the group. So you want to create 3 discussions for them. I'm just going to do create and next, and it'll create that discussion for me and then take me, I checked off the assignments page. So now I'm at the assignment and I can type in group assignment, set it all up. You could add attachments with directions. You'll see it automatically defaulted to a group assignment with the groups that I'm working on. You can update different settings for your assignment all here. And then at the end, you'll see you have create or add another, depending on what your needs are. But then you'll get a summary. All right, so I created a forum topic and 1 assignment for those groups. If we scroll down now, you'll see it has existing workspace and it has links to the things that I just created for my groups. And you can save it. This one, I did the individual group, so it placed everybody into an individual one for my options. So the groups tool here is pretty powerful, and if you use groups, this was a great way to kind of get through the setup process because it'll walk you through everything you want to set up for your groups. Any questions? I know you're all thinking like, I might try groups, but that seems like a lot. All right. Well, that is all we have to cover today. We're actually 10 minutes early. So if you have any questions about anything from last week, this week, random ones, I will be happy to take those. And I'm going to stop our recording.